You know that feeling when you first get the itch to start an online business?
Oh, yeah, that sudden burst of motivation.
Right. You have this spark of an idea. You sit down at your computer completely energized. But then, almost instantly, you just hit this massive wall of friction.
It is so
It
overwhelming.
really is. You're suddenly drowning in all this advice about, which platform to use. You're signing up for like 5 different software subscriptions that cost $90 a month before you've even made a single sale.
Exactly. And you end up spending weeks just trying to figure out what it is you're actually trying to sell.
Yeah.
You start out wanting to just help people or maybe share a skill, and within 3 days, you're just a stressed out part-time web administrator.
100%.
You're trying to link a payment gateway to an email list, just, slowly watching your startup capital drain away on monthly fees for tools you barely even know how to use.
And that friction, that exact feeling, is why we're looking at this specific stack of blueprints today. Welcome to the deep dive, by the way.
Glad to be here.
We have a really fascinating ecosystem in front of us today. It's a bunch of course modules, product descriptions, and technical frameworks for a system called Online Business in a Box, or BIAB.
Created by someone named Mario Ellis, right?
Exactly. And our mission today is to look at how AI is being used here. But we aren't looking at asking AI to write a catchy Instagram caption or like a blog post. We are exploring how it's used to instantly generate actual software tools, coaching frameworks, and basically the entire infrastructure of a digital business.
Which is huge because it completely dismantles the traditional software as a service model. I mean, think about the liberation here for a second.
Yeah.
What used to be a months-long build, hiring a developer, setting up a database, writing hundreds of pages of curriculum, and then paying some company $100 a month just to host it all, that is all being collapsed into standalone HTML files.
Okay, let's unpack this, because standalone HTML files might sound a little bit dry, but the implications are wild.
They really are.
For anyone listening who isn't a developer, let's explain how this actually works. Instead of paying a monthly fee for software that lives on a giant tech company's server somewhere, you literally just have a basic, lightweight HTML file sitting right there on your own computer desktop.
Just a local file.
Right. You open it in your web browser, and it basically acts like a direct pipeline to an AI brain.
And that pipeline is powered by your own Anthropic API key.
Right.
If you aren't familiar with that term, then API key is essentially a private password. It allows this little HTML file on your desktop to securely talk to a massively powerful AI like Claude.
So you cut out the middleman entirely.
Exactly. You aren't paying some SaaS company a monthly subscription. You are paying the AI company directly, and you only pay for exactly what you use, which is usually just a fraction of a penny each time you click generate. You own the interface forever, and it runs locally.
Okay, so we have this direct, hyper-cheap pipeline to a supercomputer. But where do we even start with that?
Well, looking at the sources, it's quite a spectrum.
Yeah, the Mario Ellis ecosystem ranges from these really simple validation tools all the way up to literal factories that mass-produce companies. So let's start at the foundation with what the sources call the Online Business in a Box Lite toolkit.
The light version, right?
Yeah, this is a collection of generators designed to basically force entrepreneurs to answer the hard questions before they write a single line of copy.
It's forcing a reality check, really. If you open the business idea validator in this light suite, it doesn't just ask for some vague, pie-in-the-sky description of your dream.
No, it gets super specific.
It asks for the mechanical delivery method. Like, are you doing a digital download via PayHip or Gumroad? Is it one-on-one coaching over Zoom? Is it a physical product?
Right.
And then it explicitly asks you, what's your biggest doubt about this idea?
I found that detail so striking. What's your biggest doubt? Because, usually business tools are all about hype, right?
Right.
They want to pump you up.
Oh, totally. You're going to be a millionaire.
Exactly. But this AI actively wants you to poke holes in your own boat before you even set sail. And that sobering logic carries right over into the first offer builder and the revenue roadmap tools.
Yeah, those are fascinating.
It literally maps out your pricing tiers. It makes you select if this is going to be like a free lead magnet or a low-ticket $27 item, or maybe a premium high-ticket offer at $297 or more.
And then The revenue calculator steps in and does the sober math for you.
The brutal math.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Let's say you tell the tool you want to make $10,000 a month selling a $5 ebook.
A classic beginner goal.
Right. Well, the calculator instantly breaks down exactly how many units you actually have to sell to hit that target, and it even factors in an estimated tax rate of 25 or 30%.
Ouch.
Yeah. It tells you, okay, you need to sell nearly 3,000 copies every single month. Do you have an audience of 300,000 people to convert at a 1% rate?
Which almost nobody does when they start.
Exactly. And if the answer is no, the AI forces you to rethink your pricing strategy right there. It completely strips away the delusion.
It's like an interactive mirror for entrepreneurs.
Right.
It actually reminds me of playing Mad Libs when we were kids.
Oh, sure.
But instead of generating a funny story about a purple cow or whatever, it takes your inputs and forces you to confront the reality of your actual available time and your actual audience size. You just can't hide behind busy work.
What's fascinating here is that these AI tools are functioning as structural guardrails.
Guardrails. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Take the six-figure growth plan and the content plan generator, for example. They ask for your specific starting point. Like, are you starting from an absolute zero with no audience? Or are you growing but maybe still below $3,000 a month?
Right.
But more importantly, it asks for your available time. The operational advice the AI generates if you only have 1 to 2 hours a week is fundamentally different than if you have 10 plus hours.
Because you can't be doing daily TikToks on 1 hour a week.
Exactly. If you have low time, it focuses on high leverage, slow burn activities. By forcing those specific parameters, it actively stops you from spending 6 months building a complex course that absolutely nobody wants to buy or that you just don't have the time to market.
Right. But knowing that your time is limited and your math needs to make sense, I mean, that's really only half the battle.
Sure.
Once you have those constraints, how do you actually build a product that fits them? And that is where these sources shift from theory to application, and it gets incredibly compelling.
We get to see it in action.
Yeah, we move into this fully fleshed out proof of concept called the Empire Builder. And it features an online business in a box designed for a highly specific market, specifically a boundaries and self-worth coach.
And the way the source material defines the word niche here is just a masterclass in modern digital marketing.
It really is.
The text explicitly states, helping people say no is not a niche. That is far too broad. I mean, nobody wakes up in a cold sweat at 3 in the morning thinking, I need to hire someone to help me say the word no.
Right. The documents define the actual niche as, quote, women in their 30s and 40s who grew up as the responsible one, the one who held everything together, and are now running on empty.
Wow.
I know, right? That is so hyper-specific. You hear that, and if that is your life experience, you feel seen immediately. You feel like the person who wrote that is reading your diary.
The underlying psychology there is that the more granular you are, the more the prospective client feels understood.
Yeah.
And that feeling of being deeply understood is what actually makes someone pull out their credit card and book a coaching call.
Definitely.
And to serve that specific woman who is running on empty, the suite provides 9 custom AI-powered HTML tools.
I mean, these aren't just like generic PDF worksheets you print out, right?
No, not at all. These are interactive software utilities built for both the coach and their clients to actually use together.
Okay, let's talk about how those 9 tools actually function, because this part completely blew my mind.
Go for it.
You have the trigger and pattern mapper. Now, how does a simple file map a psychological pattern?
It's pretty clever.
It really is. The tool prompts the client with specific situational questions, like describe the last time you felt overwhelmed by a family request. The client types in their story, and the AI operating in the background synthesizes those answers. It's looking for behavioral loops.
Right, finding the underlying thread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it outputs a visual timeline for the coach. It'll say something like, client exhibits guilt, leading to compliance, resulting in resentment, ending in burnout collapse. It finds exactly where the coach needs to step in and interrupt the cycle.
That is so powerful. And you also have the difficult conversation script builder, and perhaps the most practical tool of all, the no message generator.
The no message generator. I love that.
It doesn't just give you a generic, one-size-fits-all way to decline an invitation. The client actually inputs the specific request they received, and the tool generates 3 different versions of a boundary-setting text message.
3 different versions.
Yeah. It gives you a gentle version for, like, a sensitive friend, a direct version for a coworker, and a very direct version for a pushy family member. It basically removes that paralyzing anxiety of staring at a blinking cursor.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, and I do have to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
I hear the mechanics, and I understand the efficiency of it all, but we are talking about highly sensitive, deeply emotional human dynamics here.
We are.
Unpacking childhood trauma, navigating toxic family relationships, learning fundamental self-worth. Is there a danger in using a literal machine, an artificial intelligence script generator, to navigate the deepest, messiest parts of human relationships?
That's a very fair question.
Like, are we just outsourcing our empathy to a language model? I mean, something about that feels inherently uncomfortable to me.
It's a completely natural discomfort. I mean, if a therapist was just reading a robot script to you, you'd feel incredibly betrayed.
Right. I'd want a refund.
Exactly. But if you look closely at how this specific course module is structured in the sources, it actually addresses this exact ethical friction. These AI tools are strictly categorized under Module 1, Foundation.
Ah,
The source material never frames the AI as a replacement for the human connection.
so it's not meant to do the actual coaching.
Not at all. The AI is doing the heavy lifting of data synthesis. It's doing the structural prep work, naming the toxic dynamic, mapping the repetitive pattern, and generating a baseline script so the client just isn't starting from a blank page.
That makes sense.
It's doing that so the human coach doesn't have to spend 45 minutes of an hour-long session just trying to untangle the messy timeline of a family argument. By the time the coach and client actually speak, the structural diagnostic work is done,
Right.
which allows them to spend the session doing the deeply human work of emotional processing.
I see. It's like an MRI for a therapist.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah. Like, the MRI doesn't replace the doctor's bedside manner, and it doesn't do the surgery, but it finds the fracture instantly so the doctor knows exactly where to apply the care. It gives the coach and the client a shared language on day one.
Exactly. And this structural efficiency, it extends to the sales process itself, too. The Empire Builder includes sales swipe files designed to handle objections on a discovery call. And the psychological depth is just remarkable.
Let's hear an example.
So let's say a prospective client gets on the phone with the boundaries coach and says, I feel selfish even thinking about spending money on this.
Which is like the most natural reaction in the world for someone whose entire identity is tied up in sacrificing for others.
Exactly the point. The provided sales script doesn't try to logically argue with them about the value of the course. It reframes that guilt perfectly.
How so?
It guides the coach to respond something like, that feeling is actually one of the clearest signs that this work is for you. The people who don't need boundary coaching don't feel guilty about prioritizing themselves.
Oh.
Right. It goes on. The guilt isn't a reason not to do this. It's the exact thing we are going to work through together. That is an incredibly sophisticated, emotionally intelligent response.
It really is. It validates their fear while completely turning it into the reason to buy. But, okay, let's look at the bigger picture. If building this highly specific, incredibly deep 9-tool boundary suite takes days of manual work to write the prompts, structure the HTML, and refine the psychology, how do you scale that?
Yeah, how does this become an empire?
Right. How do you make a larger business out of this ecosystem? And the answer, which we found in the BIAB product descriptions in our sources, requires a massive meta shift in how we even think about software.
It's a total pivot.
You basically stop building the individual tools and you start building the builder.
Yes, we move entirely from the product to the factory.
The factory, right?
The sources detail these tools called the BIAB Suite Builder and the BIAB Factory. And these are meta tools. They are designed to generate a complete 11-file business in a box suite for absolutely any niche you can think of, all from a single user prompt.
Let's walk through exactly how this works for the listener, because the scale of it is just staggering.
It really is.
So you open this HTML file, you type a niche into the prompt box,
Yeah.
let's say time management for new fathers working night shifts. Just that single phrase.
Very specific.
Yeah. In the background, an AI model called Claude Haiku, which is this lightning-fast, highly efficient model built by Anthropic specifically to read and organize large amounts of text instantly, it goes to work.
Right.
It autofills the specific pain points of a night shift dad. It generates the praising models. It even suggests a unique accent color system, like deep navy blue and burnt orange. So the final HTML suite looks visually distinct and professionally branded.
And it outputs 11 finished, functional, ready-to-sell HTML tools specifically tailored to that night shift dad need. And do you know what the actual cost of generating this entire business infrastructure is?
Well, according to the documents, because Claude Haiku is so efficient, it costs between 1 and 3 cents per build.
1 to 3 pennies.
1 to 3 cents. For 11 pieces of custom software using your own API key. And the sources show it doesn't even stop at coaching tools.
Oh, it goes way bigger.
The factory product includes an 8-figure BIAB Builder. This generates enterprise-level suites.
And what does an 8-figure builder actually look like in this context?
Well, it means the AI automatically writes out comprehensive team frameworks. It generates standard operating procedure systems, meaning the actual employee onboarding manuals and daily task lists.
Wow.
It plots out diversified revenue streams, and it even drafts the narrative structure and financial projection models for an investor exit strategy.
And I want to reiterate to you, listening to this is all delivered entirely as standalone HTML files. There is no software installation. There is no web hosting required to run the tools. There are no monthly subscription fees draining your bank account. It just opens in your browser, and the entire business architecture is there, hard-coded and ready to use.
So what does this all mean? I was trying to wrap my head around the economics of this, and the best analogy I can come up with is this. It's like going to a car dealership, and instead of buying a sedan, you buy the entire robotic assembly line that manufactures the sedans, and the dealer charges you 3 cents for it.
That's spot on. The cost of production has effectively fallen through the floor.
But that leads me to a really skeptical question.
Let's hear it.
If absolutely anyone can spin up an 8-figure standard operating procedure system and an investor exit strategy in 10 seconds for the price of a gumball, are we actually creating value anymore?
That is the million-dollar question.
Or are we just generating a business-themed illusion? If the barrier to entry to create software is literally 1 penny, doesn't the value of that software output basically drop to zero? Why would anyone buy a tool from me if they can just make it themselves?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, your skepticism highlights a fundamental paradigm shift in digital economics.
Okay.
For the last 20 years, the bottleneck in online business was the creation of the product. Writing the code, structuring the video course, building the software architecture that was exceptionally hard, expensive, and time-consuming.
You had to be an expert.
Exactly. And because it was hard, simply possessing the software made you valuable. What the BIAB Factory proves is that the creation bottleneck has been entirely eliminated.
Completely gone.
Right. The value has moved completely from the code to the context.
From the code to the context. Say more about that, because I think that is really the crux of this entire deep dive.
Think of software now like cardboard boxes. You don't sell cardboard boxes, you sell the valuable thing inside the box.
Yeah.
The AI can generate an infinite number of software tools for an infinite number of niches for pennies. But the AI cannot look at the real world and intimately understand the human condition.
It doesn't have lived experience.
Exactly. It cannot independently identify that a specific group of women in their 30s who grew up as the responsible ones are currently burning out and need a highly specific intervention to save their relationships.
Right.
The human entrepreneur's job is no longer to build the tools. Building the tools is a solved problem. The entrepreneur's job is distribution, marketing, and identifying the hyper-specific human pain point.
Wow.
The software is just the free packaging you hand the client once you've made that empathetic connection.
That completely flips the script on what an entrepreneur even is in this new landscape. You aren't a builder anymore, you're a connector. Let's quickly recap the journey we've taken you on today. We started with those light validation tools, the AI forcing you to face the sober mathematical reality of your business idea and your actual available time.
The reality check.
Yep. Then we zoomed in on a real-world application, looking at how 9 custom tools and psychologically nuanced sales scripts can act as an MRI to perfectly serve a hyper-specific boundaries niche.
Right.
And finally, we zoomed all the way out to the meta level. An AI factory that mass-produces entire digital businesses, complete with operating procedures and exit strategies as standalone HTML files for literally pennies, completely bypassing the SaaS subscription model.
It is a dizzying stack of technology, truly, but it leaves us with a critical realization about the future of work in online commerce.
What's that?
If the entire infrastructure of an online business, from the software tools to the diagnostic mappers to the objection-handling sales scripts, if all of that can be generated perfectly for 3 cents, then the technology itself is no longer a competitive advantage.
It's just table stakes.
Exactly. The only remaining moat in business is your authentic human relationship with your audience. When the cost of building a business drops to zero, your actual personality, your lived experience, and your capacity for empathy become your only uncopyable assets.
That's a profound thought.
So the question to leave you with is this. Are you investing your time in writing code and wrestling with software, or are you investing your time in the human connection? Because one of those now costs 3 cents and the other, well, it's absolutely priceless.